Hello everyone, this is Anna from A Paper Paradise, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute unicorn ornament. As usual, all the materials that I use and the dimensions will be listed in the description so you can make your own. To start this project, we are going to need to make a circular shape, and to make these you can use anything you have around the house that has a circular shape, a cylinder shape. I use an old roll of packing tape. It still has a layer of tape on it so that the strips won't stick to it. And what I do is I just take one strip, wrap it around, take a little bit of glue on each side of the strip, and then bring it together. Try to have everything in line and push it down. And you can still move it a little bit around as it dries. Make sure it's all aligned. And there you have the first one. We're going to do 3 more, gluing them all around. So right next to where the seam is there, I'm going to put some glue down. And then start gluing. Lay a bead of glue along the rest of the strip. And press it down. I'm using my nails to kind of guide, and I'm pressing down to glue it to the bottom layer. As you can see, it's all lined up. There's no wobble. Repeat this 2 more times. So in total we have 4 strips wrapped around the cylinder. And we have our outline done. So now, if you're gonna do this ornament to glue it to a postcard or something, you don't need to do this next step. But if you want it as a hanging ornament, you will need to do this. So once you have the circle made, I'm gonna look for where the seam is, and I'm gonna punch a little hole right there where the seam is. And I use the Dremel to do this, but you can use sharp scissors and just whittle your way with the scissors to make the hole. Be careful, don't hurt yourself doing this. But this will serve to hang the little loop that will then hold the ribbon. Once you have that hole there, you can grab one of these and slide it through there. And this will act as our hanging. Next step, we are going to make the horn. For that, we'll need another white strip, and we're going to start this a little different than we usually do. So we're going to start at an angle, and we're going to start rolling like that, leaving a little gap between each roll. And this will make a cone shape with the strip. We're just trying to get an even distribution. Doesn't have to be perfect. Once you reach the end, you can gently slide that off. And we're gonna put some glue on the end there. And close it off. This last little bit, we do all at the same level. We don't continue the cone. And hold it there for a little bit until it's dry. And you do want to kind of squish it a little bit, and I'll show you why in a minute. Alright, so we have our base horn, and then we can grab any sort of decoration color. This is a golden one. I'm gonna put some glue on there. Be mindful that when you're using metallic strips, they take a little longer to glue down than regular strips. So if you'd be holding it for a few seconds, you're going to be holding it a little longer than that for these guys to glue down. I'm just wrapping it around the horn. And I'm holding it down to make sure everything's glued. Okay, snip it and put a little bit of extra glue there. And there we go. We have our horn. See, it's coming off because it takes so long to glue down that if you do not hold it, it will just come off. Now we're going to slide this into the horn. Sometimes it will get caught on the top, so you have to be very careful so that it doesn't punch the layers out of place. There we go. And now, this is why we wanted it a little squished so it fits. I'm not sure if you can see very well, but it fits on the band there, and we can glue it down. Just going to put some glue on there. And then we'll hold it in place for a little bit. Okay, it's already sticking, so I'm going to let it sit over there and continue to dry. Once this is dry, you can carefully get some pliers and twist this into a circle so you can put a ribbon through there. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's what I did to finish the other one off. Alright, so we have our base. Now let's work on how to fill this. This technique is called the beehive, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So to make the beehive, we take one strip of paper and we are going to slide our tool a little downward from the end there, about a finger length, and then we are gonna turn this up 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and it's moving up. And you always want to do it the same direction or this will not come out right. So once you're done with it, you take the tool out, put it back down, about a finger length down, and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. And when you do this, you don't want to push past this guy, because if you do, then this one uncurls, and you don't want that. So do just 3 turns and then take it out. Bring it down slightly. 1, 2, 3. Further down again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, I've been doing this for a while, so I can more or less get 6 of these little curlicues in for each strip of paper. If you get more or if you get less, it doesn't matter. If you get a little extra tab that you need to cut off, you can. Will not change the process in any way. So this is what I aim for, the 6 per strip, but you can do more or less depending on how tightly you roll, how much space you put between them. So don't stress if you're not getting exactly this. Let me do another one just so you see again, and then we'll start filling the space. All right. So now that this is dry, we are going to use the corkboard and this circular grid just to pin this down and make sure it doesn't go anywhere as we're working on it. So to do that, I'm just going to put pins in the cardinal directions. Be careful not to deform the circle as you pin it down. If I pull this too hard, it will be deformed. So we just want to secure it. We don't want to stress this in any way. Okay, so that secure there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our little curlicues. I have a bunch of them already made. And we are going to start gluing them. So we are going to start in quarters sections. So I'm going to put some glue on the intersection here. And I'm going to bring in one of our strips and press it against that wall. These are going to be very malleable, so you can really make sure they're close together. We don't want to have a ton of space between them, and you can always kind of squish them around to get them to be the size you want. So you do that until you feel like they're sticking. And you can take your hand away and continue gluing another strip. Put a little bit of glue there. Now, if you notice, these guys are going a certain way, and I'm making sure these are going the same way. If you flip them around, they would be going the other way. I like keeping it the same way all around, but that's just me. You don't have to pay attention to that. It will look great all the same. Also, as you're gluing them, press everything down to make sure everything's leveled, because the circle has a tendency to rise on the against the pins as we work, and we don't want to have things sticking out of places. So we want to keep everything leveled. Right, so we got the first layer done, and don't worry if some are sticking out. As we do the other layers, it will push everything in, but the process is the same. Just put a layer of glue, bring in a strip, glue it down, and continue. Okay, so we reach a point here where there's a little gap there that needs some, like a couple of, just one maybe. So it's perfectly okay to go into your strip and snip one of the curlicues and place it where you need it. Just make sure you put some glue in there so it has its support. Okay, I think that's it for the filling. Just making sure everything is leveled, and we'll move to the next step. So next we are going to be making the ears, and for that we're going to need one strip of pink, one strip of white. We're going to be gluing them end to end. Let this dry. We are gonna let these dry for a little bit, and we're gonna do something else in between. We are going to curl up the little leaves. For that, you need the green strips, and we're gonna slide the strip into the quilling tool, bring it all the way to the end, and then start rolling. Just roll all the way. Grab your small template. The sizes for these templates are in the description as well, and if you have my DIY kit, you will have a template in there. Let your grin coil expand until it matches the size of the template, Pull the little tab out and glue it down. Same with all the other 8. I had already made the other ones, so now we're going to shape them. To shape these, you can see that the coil is open so that it's all concentrated on the sides. We don't want to shape them like that. So we're going to hold the center here and rotate the coil until you have an even distribution in there. And then you pull the center to the side and squeeze the other side. Repeat that process with all of them. Oops. That happens to me all the time, and if you have cats, that's a recipe for a disaster right there. Now I am putting in this case, the seam of the paper on the bottom of the shape, because these will be glued like that, so it will hide the seam. Okay, now our ears are probably dry. We can go back to them. And since there's this little tab overlapping here, we want to go with our nails and kind of press it, kind of make sure it's bending. You want to do this on both sides, or else when you're curling it, since this is stiffer, it will make a angular shape instead of a circle. So we always want to break down these extra firm spots on the paper when you glue strips together. For the ears, we're going to start with the pink end. You're going to slide your tool in there, and the process is always the same. You start curling until the end. Take it off, grab your big template and let it open up to the same size. Take a little bit of glue and glue down. Repeating the same process with the other one. Now that this is shaped, or this is coiled, let's shape it into the form of the ear. We're going to start with the same way we did for the little teardrops there. We're going to start by holding the center and kind of making sure there's an even distribution of the coils. And then I'm making sure the seam is down there too. We're going to pinch it. Now this is good enough, but I want to give it an extra little touch that will make it easier to glue to the edge there, and that is I'm going to give it a little flat right there, and I'm just pushing my finger down as my other 2 fingers squeeze inward to flatten this surface, and that makes it a little easier to glue against that surface. Repeating the same process with this one. Alright, we have almost all our components made except for the roses. Now these are pink, but I'm gonna do the red ones for the one we're making today. And these roses, I print the pattern in cardstock and then I cut them out. I'm gonna leave a link to the pattern in the description so you can use it too. It's pretty easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, the lines there, I don't follow them like very narrowly, but they are very easy to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide that end into the quilling tool, and I always leave this end there so it can stick as I roll it instead of slipping off. So we're going to start rolling. And I tend to put my fingers, these two fingers, under it and this holding the top so it doesn't go anywhere as I roll. As we get to the end, carefully pull the tool out, and we're going to let it open up a little bit. I think that's a good size. This is completely arbitrary. You let it go to the size you want. And then we're going to put some glue on this end here. A good amount of glue because this has to permeate and stick to all those layers. And we're going to bring it up against the bottom there, and I'm just pressing this inner part down. Make sure all the little layers are touching the glue down there. And if you feel like this is a little wobbly on the edges, you can always go in there and put some extra glue in between to make sure we get it all secure. Really press that in there and give it a second to make sure we have everything in place. Now you can see the center opened up a little too much, so I'm going to grab some tweezers and I'm going to move it slightly. Well, this is not dry yet. It's starting to be dry, so, and hold it in place so it's a little better distribution in there. Don't be afraid to play with your coils and shapes until the glue is dry. You can always change things around. Okay, I like that a lot better. So one down, two more to go. Okay, these do not have to be the same size. In fact, having them different sizes kind of makes it more interesting. Now that we have all our pieces, these ones I traced onto some black paper and cut them myself. I can also leave a template for that in my description if you want, and they just go on top. But let's start assembling the flowers. I'm going to take this pin out just so it's not in my way, and I think I want this distribution. So what I'm going to do is just flip the flower, put a generous amount of glue in there, and bring it down over the horn there. Just making sure it's mostly on this and not sticking out too much. So take a little bit to glue. And since this is so open, we really want to put a generous amount of glue so it permeates, and it will take a little bit to really get in there. Now that we have those, we can glue our ears down. And I'm not gonna completely stick them in there until I have both of them, so I can make sure they look symmetrical. I think that will do. It's not easy to look at something when you have a camera in front of you. So now these little guys, they will go in the spaces in between the flowers and over the ears, and they really help glue everything together. So be generous with the glue as well. We're going to put a generous amount of glue on the bottom. And then, this is tricky because you don't want to get your fingers full of glue. But where I think they're going to touch the flowers, I'm going to put some glue too. Doesn't hurt if you hold the rest of your pieces as you are doing this, just to make sure you're not destroying your previous work when you're putting in the new stuff. By the way, you can always use pins to hold everything in place as it dries. That helps secure everything where you want it to be while it dries. Even through the roses, you can stick a pin in there. Okay, so while those dry, we can glue our eyelashes in. And for these, we just place them, and you can really place them anywhere where you feel like they look cute. So once you have that lined up as you like, you can lift it up, put some glue on it, and then, oops, don't do what I just did, just drop it. It. We'll take a little bit to adhere because the glue has to permeate in there. And once you have that one, you can, this one you have to place more carefully just to make sure it's a little more aligned. And there you have it, a little unicorn ornament. Now you just need to let everything dry down, and once it does, you can take it off, take the pins. To remove the pins, you put your fingers down like this, hold everything down, and then pull the pins out. Don't just pull the pins out without doing that, or else you might regret it. And that's it for today's tutorial. Now you can embellish this with glitter, rhinestones, whatever you want to add to it, it will look great. If you do use rhinestones, I recommend E6000 to glue them down. And once you take everything off, you can put your little ribbon through the loop up on top there, and you have your ornament. I hope you enjoyed this class. If you did, please consider subscribing and giving it a like. I'll see you next time. Bye.